answer to this question is just as complicated as the question seems simple. The reason for this is because water is special in two different ways. First of all, water is a renewable resource, which means that it can be recycled continuously through the water cycle. Second of all, water is also a limited resource, which means that all the water that we have on the planet right now is all of the water that we'll ever have. This becomes a problem when you realize that even though 70.8 to 71% of the world is made up of water, only about 3% of that is fresh water, the rest of it being ocean water, which is salty and water that we cannot consume without harm coming to our bodies. Furthermore, the problem is that only 1% of all the water is fresh water that is also accessible to us, as the other 2 to 1.5% are locked away in glaciers and icebergs where we cannot tap them for water. The problem this causes is that around 35%, more than a third of the world, around 2.5 billion people, have little or no access to clean drinking water that they can also use for sanitary purposes, such as cleanly disposing of their feces. This leads to two really big problems. First of all, if people cannot cleanly dispose of their feces, it can become a breeding ground for different types of diseases that can furthermore lead to death. The second problem being that water is essential to the human body because it makes up around 70% of the human body. That's around 2 liters in every human being walking the planet. Why? Because water does things such as helps us make hormones, helps us make nutrients out of the food that we eat. It also helps regulate body temperature and makes up our internal organs. So the second problem is that without the water, the clean drinking water, all these functions start to stop. This leads to degradation of the human body and leads to death in these developing countries from just a lack of water. Well, how can we fix this problem? The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was searching for this exact solution when they sent out a call for help to inventors and scientists around the world. They offered their resources to help these inventors put in their thought and ingenuity into inventions that could help solve both the filtration problem as well as the sanitation problem. One particular invention really stuck out to Bill Gates. He took a tour to the Geneki bio firm in November of 2014, where he saw, according to him, a large bin of feces go up a conveyor belt, and 5 minutes later it came out in a glass of water. When he tasted it, he said it was better tasting than any glass of water he had ever had before. According to Bill Gates, he feels really safe about this technology because he's looked at all the science behind it, he's looked through the schematics, and he does trust that the water that comes out is in fact safe to drink. He took a tour of their plant and he realized that they were doing this whole process in a much more efficient way than other plants around the world did, with less damage to the environment and more benefits to the people receiving the water. Another thing special about this plant is that it not only produces water, but it also produces electricity from the feces. How does it do it? Maybe it's magic. Maybe it's not. I'll let Dr. Nicholas Green explain the rest to you.
Alright, so we lied. It's not exactly magic. This is the machine. Let me show you how it works. This machine can take waste from 100,000 people and produce 22,700 gallons of water and 250 kilowatts of electricity, not including the power it takes to run itself. The machine takes sewer sludge and takes it up a conveyor belt into large tubes that boil it and separate water vapor from it. This leaves dry sludge behind. This process doesn't even produce any odor because it heats it all up at 1,000 degrees Celsius. Here, the dry sludge goes on a different path from the water vapor and is fed into the furnace to produce high-pressure steam. This steam goes into a steam engine, which drives a generator that produces electricity. This electricity is then used to power the processor and is delivered to the people. Going back to the vapor, it goes through a very extensive and thorough cleaning system and comes out of the tap tasting like you stuck a straw in a glacier. It can handle waste from 100,000 people, remember. This can take up to just 5 minutes. It takes 5 minutes. The Omniprocessor will save millions of lives when it becomes widely available. All it took was someone with an idea and the resolve to better the world, to make a difference, to solve problems and do something no one thought could be feasible, making water from waste. Who thought that was possible? No one. As humanity, with our growing population, we need more innovations like these to better the world for those who aren't as fortunate as the ones watching this video, and for future generations to come.
Thank you for watching our TED Talk. Can we make water? The question is just as complicated.
5 minutes.
Today I will ask you one question. Can we make water? The question is really complicated, and the answer is